Most people think of fiction as being limited to stories, movies, or comic books, and often think of it as a black and white distinction between what is clearly real and what is clearly fake. But when you stop to think about it, fiction governs most of our human lives, even more so than the laws of physics at the bottom level of our reality. Think money, jobs, governments, and nations. All of these are constructs of the human mind, held up by a common story, exerting their power in the form of human actions and goals. Fiction allows us to do amazing things through collaboration, like how believing in a common god, or gods, led to the construction of majestic cathedrals and pyramids. In fact, collaboration itself is thought to be a direct result of our ability to share in common fictions. Compare the ability of millions of humans to coexist within a single nation, to apes who break off into warring bands if their numbers exceed around 150. But this power of fiction also has a downside, as wars are fought and atrocities committed in the name of patriotic action and religious fervor. In this episode of Inner and Outer Worlds, we investigate the power of fiction from three sides. Obvious fictions, like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, and why humans keep spending millions of dollars on the newest superhero movie. Everyday fictions, like politics, social structures, and economics. And finally, non-obvious fictions, like your sense of self, your perceptions, and perhaps even the laws of physics themselves. Fiction is the operating system of the brain, and it is always good practice to think about what fictions are currently running your life. So join us as we explore the power of fiction. Okay, welcome to another episode of Inner and Outer Worlds podcast. I'm Jordan, and I'm here with Zach. And today we're going to be talking about the power of fiction in many forms. So, fiction, as in like stories or myths or shared collective beliefs. We're going to be approaching it from kind of every angle and kind of getting into the weeds there. I guess this is a good point to kind of define what I see as fiction. And like it's basically a spectrum where like one end of the spectrum are like these obviously fake forms of fiction where you're not really like, these characters aren't real people. And nobody would argue that. So that's on like the clearly fictitious end of the spectrum. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum is what we would call like reality, and like, so for instance, like the laws of physics and chemistry and space and time, like these are what we typically think of as like, oh, that's clearly reality. Like there's no fake like story being made up there. We'll get into that being contested by like, Buddhism or other spiritual philosophies, and we're gonna talk about all that. And then in the middle kind of are like more like everyday fictions that we tend to pretend aren't fictions. So these are things like economics and money, governments, politics, like social structure, like all the roles you've ever adopted in life, like
Totally.
certain job titles and things like that. These are all like masks that we put on and pretend that this is reality, but it's all like social construct. So that's kind of in the middle of the spectrum, where if you pointed it out to someone, they're like, yeah, I mean, that is a fiction, but I didn't really like think of it as such. Because it has so much power, it becomes a reality for most people. But if you stop and think about it, you can see through the veil. So those are like the three forms that I'd like to get into, but
Absolutely.
maybe you'll hear your thoughts.
I think we should pause on the middle section that you were highlighting there, where like all of our roles in life, all of our social structures, those are made up. Like society put them there. We chose to step into role of son, daughter, brother. Like these are all things. Maybe like
Well, we didn't choose those ones, but like
no, but
to
like to show up as a
yeah,
proper
there
brother or a
yeah.
proper son. That's what I'm getting
Hmm.
at. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you could be born and fuck off for the rest of your life from your family, but most families are giving you love and giving you
Hmm.
reasons and giving you survival, like food, water, shelter. So you choose to stick around. Boyfriend, girlfriend, that's a choice. All these things, it's a choice. Friend, none of that has to be there. It's our doing that we choose to associate with other people. You could meet a new person for the rest of your life and have different friends, have different
Hmm.
partners, but we choose these. But they're not fictitious seeming to us. They're very real. We choose these roles though, and they make up our entire lives. The financial system seems
Hmm.
so real that it consumes people.
Yeah.
Our entire day is spent investing in or wasting, however you want to look at it, wasting time or investing time in building a career or certain work, and it consumes so much of our time that we don't realize this is a made up system because it feels so real on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to get into all that, and we definitely will hyper analyze all these layers of fiction. But I guess right now the thing I want to say is that I personally view that whole spectrum, like even from like clearly fictitious all the way up to what we call like reality and like space and time and our perceptions of the world, like the room you're seeing right now. And like you think of yourself as a self, like this is me. Um, Kind of all of those notions I view as like some degree of fiction. Like clearly those reality type fictions are mapped onto something out there, and
Hmm.
that's kind of where you get into like um, certain metaphysical philosophies of like idealism versus realism. Like, am I seeing reality as it is, or am I inherently disconnected um, from ever like glimpsing what reality is out there, for instance? But yeah, the thing to kind of pull away at this stage is just like all forms of fiction are like immensely powerful. And I view fiction as like a very broad category of like mental activity. Like anything in the human mind is a sort of fiction. And
Hmm.
that's like the natural language of the human mind is fiction, and because of that it's like the most powerful force in a human's world. Like the laws of physics are going on at some like the fundamental level of reality, but you would never describe like geopolitics based on like physics equations. You're always like working like many layers up in like abstraction towards like language and past language to like stories and stories between different characters, like this president of this nation said this and stuff. Like these are like them wearing a certain suit and role as like a president, and nations don't exist, governments don't exist in reality, but in the shared fiction they're the most relevant layer of description. So you don't tune into the news to like watch them talk about the physics equations of like the war in Iran or something. It's like the stories that go into that are like the most relevant layer, and because of that it's like extremely powerful to think of it that way.
It is, and it's crazy that those shared fictions make up our realities.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like we just call it reality, but if you really want to like see it for what it is, I think it's interesting to see it as a fiction and then to kind of analyze it from there.
It's true because
Um,
when you dissect it, it's not a reality. It is a fiction.
right, and that
Shared
kind of
fictions, though.
yeah, and that can give you kind of hope for change, and that's where like all these dreamers and radical um, idealists and stuff, they're like they kind of see it for like the guys that it's in, and like dream to construct a different shared fiction, which takes a lot of effort. And but I mean, it happens all the time, like in history of changing like your nation's ideals and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Before we dive further into like the fiction, like books and stuff, I just want to mention, like, a schizophrenic person is living a reality that is not the same shared fiction that we all live in, you know?
Yeah.
And because it's not shared, we look at them as crazy, but is it any less real for them? No.
Yeah, that's the thing with like any experience is real to the experiencer. And there's only like to them that's their reality, but there's like the only thing you can distinguish at the end of the day is like is that reality they're experiencing adaptive or not to like the world out there or the shared human collective. And usually it's not in the case of these like delusions, but to them it's just as real as like me talking to you right now.
Yeah, and it's hard to for me right now to definitively call it a delusion because, like we've said many times before, it could just be other dimensions of them being more receptive to different information in the field for hearing and light range for seeing. Maybe they're tapping into other things that are out there. I don't know if it's all in their mind. Maybe it is all in their mind. But in either case, it's a very different experience than the data that's coming into our system through our senses. And it's a really tough go.
Yeah. Well,
like
yeah,
to not be able to interact with the consensus reality that we live in is a tough solo journey for the most part, unless they have a schizophrenic friend. But I think
I don't know, even then it's
maybe
like,
not in this world.
Yeah.
Maybe in another world.
Even then it's like always constantly blending with normal reality.
Yeah,
And
it's blended
that's
too because
confusing.
they're not totally dissociated from this reality, so it's like all this information from multiple streams coming in, it seems like.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like schizophrenia keeps being brought up in episodes. Maybe we should
It's an interesting thing. But yeah, that's true. We could do an episode
instead
on
of just pulling stuff out of my ass about it and like talking about such a surface level of it. But
yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, so yeah, let's get into what I'll call like traditional fictions. So in other words, these are like fictions that are often dismissed by people as like childish or like obviously fake to the point of it being useless. For instance, like many people pride themselves on only reading nonfiction books because those are about reality, and these other fictions are clearly fake, and therefore I won't waste my time on it, you know? And like,
used to be me. Yep.
What's that?
Used to be me.
Yeah, it used to be me too, because I think that's like a commonly reinforced thing in society where it's like, making this distinction between real and fake, and fiction, like traditional fiction falls in this fake category. I guess I'll start with something that kind of blew my mind. And this was Jordan Peterson talking about Dostoevsky, who's like a Russian classic literature. Like I don't know when he lived exactly, probably in the early 1900s, but essentially what he said was like when you read Dostoevsky, it's fictional tales, so you could easily dismiss it as not being real, and like just this is just a story. But if you look at it from another perspective, it's essentially like a distillation of the Russian condition at those times. So it's almost like a synthesis, like the main character in, let's say, Crime and Punishment, would be like a synthesis of all of the Russian men, like going through certain struggles and like embodied within one single character. So in that sense, it's like it's actually possibly realer than real, where it's like describing this full national perspective of the Russian condition at this point in time.
Interesting. Yeah.
Whereas if you're reading a nonfiction autobiography, you're getting one person's perspective. But with fiction, you're able to like distill deeper notions of truth and embody it into your character. Yeah. How does that? What do you think of that type of description of
Perspective? Yeah, like realer than real. I can't say that it's not reality to have that many perspectives combined into one, because if it's for the reasons that you were touching on, like the time and space thing, where um, the only true reality is the laws of physics. And what else did you throw in there?
um, like our perceptions of the world and our sense of self, like basically our
Okay,
our
yeah,
qualia and like our identity.
sure, yeah. Those are, I guess, reality, but it's also a reality for the state of a nation, and it might be more accurate to combine all of their experiences into a summary that can be written in a book of what the actual state of the nation is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why like that sort of perspective like lands pretty hard, and I think like people naturally are gravitating towards um like Marvel superhero stories, and it's like why do they want to watch that? Oh, like some people that would dismiss it would just be like, oh, because they want to watch people like punch others in the face or like shoot lasers at aliens and stuff, and like that's part of it, but at the same time it also like satisfies these like deep archetypes that we crave, as
Right.
like to position ourselves in this like chaotic universe that has seemingly no meaning, but there's these stories like the hero's journey or like these other archetypal storytelling patterns that like that just land well with like deep in our soul, and kind of like give you purpose through other characters, but it kind of gives you something like to latch onto for your own absurd existence.
Totally. And I think on the note of combining perspectives into one character, like, is that not what we all are as well? Like, I'll speak for myself. When I'm low energy, I'm a fucking different person than I am when I'm high energy.
Yeah.
Like, my entire ambition, like, I'll know better, like, okay, I'm just feeling down right now. It's not that all my dreams are squashed and I don't actually feel like doing any of them. It's just that I'm tired. But like, it can seem like I don't give a fuck about achieving anything
Yeah.
or doing anything for anyone, or contributing to society in any meaningful way when you're in that state. So it's like, that's just one example of like I truly feel like we all have multiple archetypes within us, and it's not as simple as just being like, I'm this type of person and that's just how I always am. Maybe some people experience that, but I'm not one of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, me neither. And like
Most people I
even
know are not.
yeah, even within ourselves there's like insane power to create a fiction around who you are.
Yeah.
Like supposedly one of the best ways to like build habits is like not just to practice it or like you know think about it, but is to like adopt it into your identity
Absolutely.
as like this is who I am, like I'm not a smoker or I am a runner, like
Yeah.
and to build a story around that, like yeah, that's
Totally.
the most effective way, like
Yes,
and these things are mutable, like you can change your
they are.
personal story at all anytime, but traumas or like past experiences or whatever, like other people's perceptions of who you are, like these things all reinforce your current story. So like evaluating that, usually you can't do it alone, so you need maybe some help. But
Totally. And people like I was gonna talk about Tony Robbins in an upcoming episode about the brain, but I'll mention him now. Like his whole strategy is to help people change their story, and it's always based around identity.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
he helps people overcome phobias, addictions, all these things, just because he gets them to tell a different story.
yeah.
And
Well,
it's, but yeah, like, sorry, go on.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's what like psychedelics kind of help you do too, is they help you like take a step back and see not just like out of your eyes, but like look at yourself and like the current stories you're telling and
Yes.
be like, is that really who I am?
Yeah.
Just kind of like shakes the box and helps you see a little bit differently.
And that's why I see psychedelics as so necessary, because we can get caught in just that one overarching perspective of what life is and who we are. But
Yeah.
like neuroplasticity increases when you're in that state of
Mm-hmm.
being on psychedelics. And you can even like your awareness, you can see more paths and more perspectives, like, oh, I never looked at that way, or oh, I never realized that maybe X person that did me wrong in the past was just going through their own hard time. And like it allows you um to soften the rigidity of your mind and your perspective, and that's
Yeah.
super valuable when you're trying to make peace with someone or even with your own self.
Have you heard of neural annealing? You probably haven't, but it's really cool. Like it's kind of an analogy for what might be going on in the brain under psychedelics.
What is it?
So like annealing is like it's a method with like metallurgy, like dealing with metals. So let's say you know how like when you like rub a violin string on like a sheet of metal, it like vibrates like certain frequencies and stuff. And like it will have like characteristic sounds that might sound nice, for instance.
Yeah.
But if you like punch a bunch of holes in that metal sheet and then rub the violin string, it'll sound like really, really dissonant and won't sound nice anymore.
Okay.
So like one thing like you would do is like when you punch all these holes, you've like like this is an analogy for what's going on in the brain. Like whereas those holes in the sheet or like punctures or dents in the sheet would be like certain experiences or memories your brain has formed or like certain traumas and stuff. And that's contributing to like your own psychological dissonance. So with annealing, if you heat up that metal, it kind of like vibrates those inefficiencies of the crystal structure to like a better state, and then when you let it cool, all of a sudden that dissonance is like a really nice sound again.
So with the metal sheet, is it that like just melting the holes together so there's no more hole, or what?
Well, it's more of like a microscopic layer where it's like certain like crystal imperfections of the sheet are
The structure, yeah.
are causing the sound to be dissonant. But once you've like heated it up, you're giving it energy, which is kind of like what a psychedelic's analogously doing. It's like energizing your brain, like giving new neural communications that didn't exist before. And then when it relaxes back to baseline, you've perhaps unlocked some like clearer way of thinking. Yeah, like if you just people look up neural annealing, there's a cool demonstration of that, and it's mostly just analogous to what kind of might be happening in the brain on psychedelics, but I always like that.
Well, because like these crystallization patterns, like you look at a diamond or a gemstone of some sort, like it's profound, the patterns that they make at a microscopic level. And there's something to be said about like the order of these structures at molecular and subatomic levels and all these things. Like they all behave properly when there's that order.
Well, yeah, it literally gives them their like optical properties, like the colors of these structures and like the sound properties, or the hardness of a diamond is because of the explicit structure of the carbon atoms. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's
So,
like
like they are the way they are because of these patterns.
Mhm.
So in the same way, our brains and our conscious experience is happening the way that it does, and it's if you're a functioning person in the world, there's patterns in your brain that are working. And if you're not functioning properly in the world, there's patterns in your brain that aren't. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't take a genius, but um, I think it's silly to think that we're any different than those other physical structures. We're not. Like,
Yeah.
our brain's a physical structure,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think it's necessary to undergo different processes where you bring in more energy through psychedelics, and you can really repair what has been broken.
Hmm. Okay, let's get back to the fiction.
Yeah.
um, so, okay, so the traditional fiction talked about like these being kind of realer than real, like distillations of human conditions. Another thing that I really like realized when I started reading fiction again in the past like 7 years is that like the empathy accessible through these forms of media is just like unparalleled. Like reading someone's autobiography is great and you can feel like a lot through them, but it still is, for me at least, like I'm living like their story from their perspective, or like as like a third person thing. Like I'm not like able to fully get into their head. But with fiction, like you're often with a character for like 1,000 pages, hearing like their inner thoughts and like seeing their actions and how they behave according to like certain hardships and traumas they've had, for instance. And then, I mean, I like to read sci-fi and fantasy, so there's often like a magical component as well. So when they like get their magical powers going, um, and solve these hardships and come through on the other side, it's like it's not only like super cool from the magic perspective, but it's like really impactful from like an empathy perspective. um like for instance, the Way of Kings book that you brought up, we will maybe get into that one day. If you read that, we'll talk about it on the podcast, because like the themes in that book and the character arcs just within like a single book, um it kind of, yeah, it basically gives you goosebumps by the end of it, because
No way.
it feels like something's happened to you yourself, but it's at the end of the day just a fictional tale of some character that never existed. Yeah.
Um, is it the character arcs of many characters that's just like wow in that book, or what makes it so?
That one is like one character mainly,
Okay,
that you
nice.
get like a decently complete arc. um Yeah, it tends to be like in each book of that series, you follow one character's flashbacks back in time, which kind of explains why they are the way they are, and then by the end of the book, there's like some big moment that happens for them. Um,
Mm.
like the third book of that series is like even more emotionally impactful, because a character goes through like some deep healing involving magical powers too. But it's like
Mm.
the themes and the arcs are just like insane. And it's like the most emotion you'll feel essentially. Obviously, yeah, I think some like autobiographies can help you empathize deeply, but just like having this fictional tale and structure to it is like maybe a bit more effective at doing that, at least for
Sweet.
me.
Yeah, totally. No, it definitely seems like, since you're not a overly emotional guy at all, like it's really cool when when I
why
know.
why'd you have to add that end?
Because I know you've tried to like feel more, and you're like,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
no,
feel
you're
much
right.
about
I'm just
anything,
kidding.
which isn't a bad thing, but like, it's interesting to know the things like that that bring those emotions out of you. It's like invoking it in you.
Yeah.
And
I mean, some of the most profound emotions I've ever had were from like fiction, you know?
yeah, that's amazing. It's
Yeah.
cool. For that reason alone, like that's massive drive for people to read, because like what's life
Mhm.
really about? It's about the emotions, the emotional spectrum.
Mhm.
And to be disconnected from that all the time is not truly living. And if that can bring that out of you, it's fantastic. I wanted to ask you, um, is it magic systems, or what is it that you look for in fictional books or movies? Like, I never threw that question back at you. What do you look
Yeah.
for in fiction?
Um, so ultimately, the most memorable fiction for me has emotional payoff. Like, so I think the character, the plot, and the world are all serving emotional payoff for me. Like, I've had books with all like books or movies or video games with like all like good characters, good plot, good world,
Mm,
good themes, things like that. But there's like not an emotional component at the end. Typically, with like one or two big payoffs for one or more characters, um, and they're like memorable, but they're not as like impactful on my life. But like some of my
mm,
top books and games and movies and stuff like have like that culmination of all this character, like all the plot serves the character's arc to get to this emotional payoff. And
mm-hmm.
that's like really where I think fiction's powerful, because it helps to like reflect some aspect of humanity through that character and like allow you to deeply feel it. Like it's kind of like injecting it deep into your soul at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so that's like what makes something like top for me.
Yeah, that's really good.
Like
'Cause
yeah, like
it's true.
when you talk about the movie Inception, like yes, the themes, plots, like the characters are good, but like you know they could have been written 10 other ways and I still would love the movie. Um, but ultimately, like you get these insane emotional payoffs by the end of the movie, like with him processing the death of his wife
Mm-hmm.
and like getting to see his kids again, and like
Right.
you get goosebumps from like the whole plot coming together well, but it's like ultimately this emotion of
True.
the story, I think.
I agree. If it wasn't for that aspect of the plot with those massive emotional payoffs in the end, would it be half as good of a movie as everyone thinks it is? I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, I think it would be like half as good, but yeah, I think it wouldn't be like my favorite movie
Yeah,
if it didn't have that. But the
totally.
themes and stuff carry it a lot. So I do
Hmm.
look for good themes. Plotting is important. Yeah, yeah, plotting, characters, world, they're all like really important. But it's you know, one of those could be completely lacking. Like the world could be shit, but the plot and characters could be really good.
Hmm.
And then as long as there's a big emotional payoff, it could still be like one of my favorite things. But
Yeah, for sure. Which one? Okay, before we move on, which one do you think is most important and least important of those? Emotional payoff. We seems like we're agreeing is number one.
um, yeah, I don't know. Like I really like cool worlds, and like magic system falls into world as well.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I think yeah, either world or plot, because I think characters have to be quite good. Um,
Yeah, characters are very. I think before I started learning about like the structure of fiction, um, I overlooked how important characters are, big time.
yeah, me too. Yeah, totally. Um,
But then
but
you think of all
if you
the great movies out there, it's always because it's like a great actor in it or a fantastic cast. Like
well, yeah, at the end of the day, like if you hate the character, it just gives you too much friction to like get into their mind and feel this like empathy or
totally.
get to those emotional, like if the emotional payoff is happening to someone that's not you in that moment, like because you couldn't establish the empathy, then it's just happening to someone else and you're like, okay, great, good for them.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think having solid characters is important for that.
Yeah, the empathy connection is a massive
Like,
point.
yeah, okay, I'll talk about. There's a trilogy called The First Law,
Hmm.
um, by Joe Abercrombie, and like he writes the best characters in fiction, pretty much. Like they just like fall off the page. They're like so like such personality to these characters, and the world's really cool too. But the plot is absolute shit. Like there's no
Mm,
like the plot. Okay, like he's there are things going on, but like some plot lines just like end in a dead end. Like it's been building up for the whole book, and then just nothing happens with it,
whoa.
and you're like, what the fuck was that? But then
Yeah.
when you like think about it, it's to serve a certain character um, development. Um,
That just
and
feels like a
it
letdown still to me.
it
Just
does
hearing that.
it does, but yeah. So I would say if he like tightened up the plot and gave you more payoffs plot wise, like it would be one of my top like books or trilogies I've ever read. And it
Mm,
still is like very very good, but because it's lacking the plot, it's a bit worse. But it's kind of weird to like see that the plot completely fails like traditional plot structures, and yet it's still like a book that I recommend people read.
mm.
Like it's because just incredible. The characters are just so freaking good. Um,
What makes them so good?
it's just like reading it. It just feels like you're in the room with that person, and like this
Crazy.
person is like the craziest person you've ever like interact. It feels like you're like interacting with them. Like they're like you can hear their voice distinctly from other people's voices in your head, and
Crazy.
like yeah, it's really cool.
It seems like a massive skill to be able to convey that in a shitty plot.
Yeah, I would say like the because the plot is so like
Lacking?
it's not lacking because when you're in a scene it feels like the scene's like doing things.
Okay.
It like I would say like the local plot, I don't know if this is like a right term, but like on like chapter by chapter the plot feels like good enough.
Okay.
But when you like
But it just
look
doesn't
at
build up
zoom
into
well when you zoom out and
the
look at like
typical.
the whole some of the plot lines do really well. Like there's like
Okay.
big battles and wars,
Okay.
but like I'm thinking of like one specific plot line where they're on like a cross country journey to get an artifact, and they get there and the artifact's not there, and then they just go back home. It's like what the fuck was the point of that? But there are
Yeah.
certain character developments in that happen that I guess is what the goal of that whole plot line was.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
That's fine.
anyways. Okay. One last thing I want to touch on in traditional fiction is the possibility for creativity where like you are able to just dream up these crazy worlds or like these different political structures or different economic structures, and you can like establish that as the world and then like see what the implications of that are and like explore it fully. So like that creativity, like this isn't just books but like video games and movies, like these all do can do these really really well. um it just like allows you to think of what else might be possible um compared to like our earthly human existence.
Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, just like allows you to dream of like what else could be, and I think that's an important skill to have in our everyday lives as well. Like I think any creative artist that you've ever like loved, like the Beatles or like a painter or um, anyone has dreamed of like, okay, this is what the current state of like status quo is in this field. Like, what else could there be? Like, what can I do to this to make it different? Um, so that's to me what like creativity, and I think fiction and creativity are like inherently tied together.
Very true. And yeah, you saying that, like, to me, for most genres of music, the bands that stand out the most are the ones that took that genre to the next level. Like, they sounded
Yeah.
different than the rest, but still somewhat within the theme enough to say
Mm.
that this is this genre. But yeah,
Yeah, because like sometimes bands will just break the genre and make their own, and
yeah,
most people will be like, "What the hell?" And then like it's only like years later when someone like listens to them again, they're like, "Oh, these guys were crazy good." But
yeah.
like, your ear needs to adjust to certain new sounds and stuff.
Yeah, maybe ahead of their time. Well,
Hmm.
ahead of their time is what we say, but maybe they're just innovative and the rest of us are closed-minded,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's like a lot of power that translates like from like these, like quote unquote fake stories that we come up with. Like getting good at being creative and like these fake things helps us be creative in like our real world as well.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think it's a very important point that you brought up. I don't want to move on without stressing how important that is to like question the systems that we have right now and really see if like just because they have kind of worked doesn't mean that this is the ultimate way we could be living with many things. Like
Yeah.
the banking system is one. Obviously, like crypto is a great idea to have a decentralized um, organization or
Currency.
structure, currency to govern that. Um, Genius. But like things like that allow more freedom of the individual, I feel like, and like you're not just gonna fall to the mercy of whoever is in charge. Those are like I highly salute those types of systems because I feel like more of that is needed. It's just it takes a lot of effort and strategy to like jar people out of the system
Yeah.
that has currently or that has been working for a long time.
Yeah. Okay, this can actually be a good segue into like the everyday fictions, um, which we touched on at the beginning. But yeah, things like the economic structure, political structure, social structure, like these are all human constructs that
Mm-hmm.
don't exist in like on another planet. Like maybe if there's like a civilization, they'll come up with their own constructs, which are probably quite similar, but they're not like hard coded into the universe. There could have been a different way, and there probably will be a different way in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people that are like jaded with the systems just want to shatter them and be like, we don't need that system. Like,
Right.
like disband the police. We don't need them.
Yeah.
But there tends to be a reason why these systems became adopted in the first place.
Yeah.
And like
Even
pure
the sorry.
no, go ahead.
Even the family unit, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like pure anarchy isn't. It's just gonna reconfigure into some other system. Like pure anarchy
Mm-hmm.
would not last. It would,
No.
like certain
No.
powerful forces would take hold, and some structure would crystallize out of the blob of anarchy.
Yeah.
Um,
No matter how much your old roommate and friend Jordan would say anarchy is the best. I don't know.
yeah, some people are just inherently
Shout out to
anarchists,
Jordan if he's listening,
but
yeah,
yeah, just
I
it doesn't
really
work when
don't
you
think
it doesn't work when you have millions and billions of people existing at once in a finite spatial and temporal scale.
Mhm.
And that gets into like the first thing I want to say here with these everyday fictions is that like they're clearly useful. Like we obviously can point to the usefulness of money and the usefulness of government and police and
Mhm.
family units and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and this wasn't like fully apparent of how useful these things were until I read the book Sapiens like 15 years ago or something. But like basically, and there's some like contestation to how true this is, but I think on like a broad strokes view, this is very true that what's first separated like humans from like other like Neanderthals or monkeys and things like that was our ability to share in these like to share common fictions with each other. Because as soon as like for instance, like if you're analyzing groups of primates, like the most primates that can exist without like getting into wars with each other is like something like 100 or 150. And any more than that, like one primate just can't possibly know all other 150 other primates like close enough that without like causing a ruckus. So that tends to be like a critical number. It's like probably something like slightly higher or lower than that, but that's like the kind of quoted numbers like around 150.
Right.
And clearly humans have millions of people living in the same place, like in relative unity. And kind of like the thing that binds us together are these shared fictions that we have with one another. And if you start like 100,000 years ago and say like, okay, what allowed humans to begin to get past that 150 number, it was probably something spiritual, or something like believing in a common God. And if you come across a stranger and you speak the same ancient language of like, you know, grunts and whatever, but if you can communicate that like you follow the same God or something, or like maybe the same collective nation or like leader, like some unifying force, if you can share that knowledge and story with one another, then you can easily band with like thousands of people. Yeah, this sort of like these fictions and language probably like co-evolve with one another, where like our ability to even use our vocal cords to make discrete sounds and whatnot, like that isn't very that had to be evolved. So it like co-evolved with the usefulness of these stories. And yeah, who knows what the stories were and like why they bonded enough people to like cause the ball to roll into where we're at now. I'm sure there's like better answers, but yeah, I don't know the fine-grained details, obviously.
No, it just came to me after I asked that. I think because we've all experienced synchronicities in our lives and either experienced miracles or seen miracles that other people have experienced, where it's like, oh my God, it was a gift from God. Like something else reached down and saved this person from this illness, or like I was about to fall off a cliff and somehow I regained my balance when like the wind was blah, blah, blah. Like it's like these unexplicable things other than like I wasn't meant to die that day, or like I thought I was all alone and then all of a sudden someone showed up and saved me. Like it all seems like too good to be true, and those are the things where I feel like people
I think
give credit to a higher power, and that connects people. Like you've experienced that, listen to what I've experienced.
Here's a plausible like actual thing that could have happened. One group discovers fire, sees another group and is like, yo, check this out, and like just grunts like boo 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 boo. Like look at this, they make a fire, and then the people are like, holy shit, and then they're like, then that's a bond. And then somehow
and that looks miraculous.
And then the other group's like, wait, that's what the sun looks like. They like point up at the sun, and then they get paganism and start to like worship the sun as their god. Word. And then they start to spread the word to other tribes of, look, fire, we harness the power of the sun. That's like an early myth that could have happened. That
for
is
sure.
like a unifying force for people.
Yeah, especially when the elements hadn't fully been
demystified.
Demystified, yeah.
I mean, they still didn't for hundreds of thousands of years past like discovery of fire. Like the Greeks still thought of them as like fundamental things.
Yeah. That's a good point though. I think it's a combination, yeah. And that's good. That's questions I've never asked. But yeah, stories essentially bond people more than anything. And like everyone's telling a story about everyone that they know or everyone that they don't know. It's like we immediately see someone dressed a certain way and we start telling a story, unless you like catch yourself doing that. It's like human instinct. It's just part of who we are to do that. And it both serves us, like that person looks a little sketchy, and sometimes we should be a little weary, but also it hinders us in the connections that we could be having if we stop those stories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I suffer from that a lot, where I'm just like, I don't know, of the like one bad story that I fall into is like, this stranger has nothing new to offer me.
Mm,
But turning that 180 and thinking of every stranger as having something new to offer you,
yes,
which is
100%.
an obvious truth. It's like this
Yeah,
person has done something that I have not done,
that's
and
right.
that would be valuable to learn. Like
Totally.
it's so easy for me to fall into the opposite, but
Mm,
it's such a better life to live with the more optimistic take on that.
that's right. And like everyone's uh can have their own beliefs, but like my beliefs when they started being that like we're all the same being having different experiences through different life forms and different people.
Hmm.
Um it really allowed me to like really step into the, like everyone really has something to offer me because it's all just the same consciousness having different experiences. Even a homeless person that seems disgruntled and pissed
Yep.
off at everything, it's like you look into their history, they're like that for a reason. Like the environment that they grew up in, the brain that they grew up, or that their consciousness inhabited.
Hmm.
At least that's my belief. Um, all of that is allowing me to be more humane and more open
Mm.
to the fact that this, like everyone, every single person has something to teach me, and it doesn't matter how successful a person becomes in life, there's shit that they're not going to know, and they can learn something from the lowest person on the societal spectrum too.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. Um, okay. So another thing that, I mean, we've touched on this, but it's like the causal power of fiction, where, like I described earlier, like you wouldn't look at what's causing the war in Iran from like a physics level. You're gonna focus on this like
Uranium.
yeah, that's part of it. But
Maybe
the
uranium.
the better story is that there's like humans and the stories that they tell about what nation they're part of and the history of that nation, and
Yeah.
then and what's
And
right for
what's
the
right
world
for
and
the
the
world.
ethics that they impose, and then uranium would come
That's
into
right.
that afterwards. But the relevant layer is these fictions that we've built up as like governments and nations and all that. So like clearly there's like a
Mm.
better explanatory layer of reality is like this fictitious one that actually drives what's happening in terms of the physical world. So like the physical world is changing because of this fictitious layer, not the other way around.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a you haven't seen Game of Thrones, but there's like a really great scene that I like that maybe I'll describe that kind of always like stuck with me, and it's like in this vein of like the power of fiction. um, so I'll set the scene for you. You know nothing about the show, right? Okay, so I think this is like
Mm-mm.
season one, maybe season two, um, and the the queen of like the whole kingdom is married to the king, who she doesn't give a shit about, and instead she loves her brother, and they have sex, and like she's had two kids to the king. she's had
That's
wait,
crazy.
how many kids for the yeah, two or three kids for the king, but all the kids are blonde and she's blonde and her brother's blonde, but the king he's got brown hair, and eventually it comes out
Yeah.
that and anyways, we don't have to get if you
Is that the short king, the
there's no
midget king,
the midget
or is
is
he's
the
not?
queen's
He's not a
brother,
king.
and he's dope, but no, sorry, there's two brothers. It's not the brother she's fucking, it's the
Oh.
she's fucking the Prince Charming looking brother, Jamie, and Tyrion's the
Okay.
dope
Okay.
midget brother. But so she's the queen of the whole kingdom, and she's talking to like this like basically the king's spy, like the spy master of the kingdom, who like gathers all the knowledge, and he does a lot of like scheming across the kingdom. So he's like really powerful because he's got all the information. Um, and basically it's like the scenes about like the power of information and knowledge versus the power of like being a queen, like, which I would define that as like the fiction of being a queen, like the shared fiction that she is the queen, therefore she has these powers that you know you can't explain to like an ant, like to a beetle or an ant. Like they don't understand this fiction.
Well, ants are ruled by
Shit,
queens, so
go.
they kind
Yeah.
of do.
That was a great
That's a bad
counterpoint.
example.
Okay, so yeah, basically like the scene is like kind of the it's they're just talking to each other. That's the whole scene. But basically she says something that like pisses him off, and he's like, well, it would be quite a shame if like this fact about certain sister and her brother like sleeping together got out. And he like tells her, he's like, yeah, you forget, queen, that knowledge is power. And then immediately she's like, yeah, guard sees him. So the guards like grab him. She's like, cut his throat.
That's funny.
And then they like pull out a knife, and she's like, oh wait, never mind, I changed my mind. Back up 5 steps, turn around and close your eyes. And then the guards do exactly that. And then she basically is like, no, power is power. And it's like, and the scene ends, and he's like shivering in his boots. So it's like such a fucking dope scene. But like when she says power is power, it's like, I would say she says power is power, but like really fiction is the fiction of being a queen is the power there. Right. So like this common narrative, like if it was any other female saying that to the guards, they wouldn't listen. But because they also share in like this collective dream, then like it can go on from there. But like kings can order entire armies to battle and stuff, and that's what happens all the time in our world. But it's like because of this common fiction that armies get mobilized, that bombs get dropped. It's like because we share in the same fiction. And like soldiers following orders is because they either share in the same fiction, or like they're scared what that fiction will do if they disobey orders, like their family will get killed or something, you know. So
totally. And I have to mention this, but I don't want to get too political, but I'm just going to say
Palestine.
in passing, we can move on after. Yeah, maybe that too. But democracy, the fiction that is a sham, because they give us the illusion that we elected this leader and therefore this is the people's person. All of us chose this person, and therefore this is the summation of what all of us want, really, is what the whole demise is. For us to believe that this elected leader is the reflection of our entire society, and to just accept that narrative and to carry on, like Trump, because he was chosen by the people, is like committing crimes in front of everyone's eyes and no one's doing anything about it. It's just, I only bring that up to emphasize the power of how insane it is to all of a sudden, because of the shared fiction that we have around these positions of power, that all of a sudden they can be above the laws, which is, I guess, also shared fiction. But it's like it's all insane. It's like these overlapping fictions that prevent us from having justice with the other fictions that we created, and it's just all ridiculous seeming.
Well, it's because like these everyday fictions are so ingrained in us as reality that we don't even question it. It's like you've lived your whole life in the system, and like if you don't study other systems, that's like studying history is important because you can see all these patterns that are repeating over and over again, just based on human nature, basically. So it's like basically that. I mean, it's very convenient to not be questioning your reality at all moments, because then you wouldn't be acting in the world, you'd just be thinking the whole time. And so like you have
Right,
to at some
right.
point be like accept all these fictions, like be
I'm
like,
just
I'm a
gonna be.
person, I'm a son, I'm a
Yeah,
husband, therefore I do this, I do this, I do this.
yeah.
Otherwise you're gonna be like going crazy. Yeah.
Floundering. Yeah. I think the hardest state to be in is being caught between uh identities that don't line
Yeah.
up. Like anytime I've found that in my life, it has felt like the least stable, most like psychotic um state that I've ever been in. But when you can get aligned with like all the things that you say that you are, or like you can start living within your morals and not feeling torn about it in any way, you really feel like
Yeah.
a fucking solid person. And like when you can just act without debating yourself, should I do this, should I do that, should I do this, do that, and you're just like in the moment and not questioning everything all the time. Like yes, there's value in it, but to just like decide who you want to be and then go out and execute being it, that is the
Yeah,
greatest feeling.
exactly. And that's like harmony for your own self. like like not fighting
Harmony.
against
But
like these other roles that you don't identify with. Yeah.
roles are archetypes within, or um yeah, it's there's something to be said about picking a story, because that's essentially what an identity is you assess the reality, the culture, all these factors in your environment, and then you decide who you're going to be. um so fictions and stories are important
Yeah.
for us
I
to
have
lead our own
another
lives.
Game of
Go on.
Thrones reference here. That's relevant to this.
Mm.
And like relevant to the like your own personal identity and like the disharmony of having like multiple conflicting expectations or identities. Yeah, so
Desires or
like
expectations, yeah.
the Prince Charming brother that the queen's fucking that I was talking about, he's a knight of the kingdom, and
So is
knights have
wait,
to.
is incest the norm there? No.
No, it's like
Okay.
not, especially
Okay.
not in like a royal family.
Right, right. Okay, go on.
Um,
The knight is
so
what?
yeah, he's a knight, and like knights have like a code of standards that they have to uphold, and like every knight given a certain situation would ideally behave the same way, because there's like such strong ideals in like knighthood of what you would do in certain situations.
Mm.
But he's talking in one scene about the like irony of that, or like the impossible standard of that, because he's saying like the codes you swear, like one is like I will protect the king, and the other one is I'll protect my father. And then he's like, but what if the king orders you to kill your father?
Right.
Because that happened in like before the show. Like that's kind of his backstory, is like
Mm-hmm.
the mad king like ordered him to like kill his father, who's like invading the city, and to like burn the city to the ground. And instead of doing that, he like, because those are two mutually exclusive things, like to protect the king and father you have to choose one. So he ends up stabbing the king in the back, and he gets like this label of like the king slayer, and
Mm.
everyone's like talking shit about him. But he did that to save the city, which is like what a proper knight should do if like, you
Right.
really thought about it.
Yeah. It's
So that's like kind of him sacrificing, like people don't think of him as a good knight anymore because he killed the king, which is like you're supposed to protect the king. but
Mm-hmm.
but the story's not that black and white, and that's kind of how it is in like life too. Like
That's right.
the fact that I remember this like so vividly is the power
Mm.
of fiction inherently, because
Yeah.
like
Right.
like this the story, the scenes like flash through my mind like so concretely, because it's like so powerful of like a lesson.
Yeah. So
um
true. Yeah,
yeah.
and it it shows that morality, the higher moral road, is such a fucking gray area, and it all
Yeah.
depends on like what you value the most. Because ideally, in a perfect world, you just want everyone to live, and like you don't have to kill anybody, or you don't have to do anyone wrong. But it's
Hmm.
not that easy, and especially when there's situations like that. Whether it was like back in the day where killing was more of problem solving thing, or in a war situation. Um, I forgot to mention the 100 is one of my favorite shows of all time, and
Nice. I haven't seen that.
it's fiction, but like the plot is extremely good, and what you just said reminds me of it because one of the main characters, Clark, in so many situations they find themselves in, she ends up being the one that either has to like uh gas people, like press a button that like sends this toxic gas and kill a whole society, or like she's the one that orders the killing of a certain group. And she always like, even when it seems like the moral thing is to not fucking do this, her moral compass is I need to protect my people and I will do whatever it takes to protect
Mm.
my and save my
Hmm.
friends. And she saves them through the whole fucking thing. Like it's her fault that they're all still alive, but the shit she had to order on other
Hmm.
villages and shit to get there is like super, like she gets like the it's like in a different language, but they call her the Blood Queen because she just like has killed so many fucking societies by the end of
Hmm.
the series. And she's just like a normal like looking like teenage girl at the beginning, and she just becomes this like
Yeah.
blood queen to everybody because yeah, it's just wherever your morals are, she's in her eyes she's doing the right thing every time. But it seems super fucked how people get to that morality sometimes.
Right. Yeah, and I think the only way you can explore that really is with fiction.
Yeah.
Like, okay, people have done stuff like that in the world, like Hitler and like other bad, like conventionally bad people. um,
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, like, anyways, um, like so you could explore that through like these worldly people, which is often done when you're like studying history and stuff. But like to get into that mindset of this character and like to explore it, like why is she doing these certain things, like you get to watch it unfold in like the fictional medium, and that's like 100 times more effective than trying to like think back to, oh, what must like Hitler have been thinking in 1944, like when I don't even know what the world was really like back then.
No.
um yeah, anyways, it's like there's so many good villain characters. Especially, I like when
Hmm.
villains are more nuanced because it's just like, oh, this is why they're behaving this way. This is like their conventionally skewed perception of reality, but everything they're doing makes sense. But then you're still
Yeah.
kind of rooting for them to lose because,
Yeah,
yeah,
because they're a villain.
right. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's not even that like obvious that they are a villain.
No.
It's like Breaking Bad. You haven't seen that either. Okay, I'm gonna write a list of things that you
Not
have to
in
consume.
not in its entirety.
Right. But anyways, Walt's like a villain, but because you start with him from day one through the whole story, and
That's
because
right.
the main character of a show is typically a good guy, you're like, I love this guy. Yeah, fuck his wife. She's a bitch.
Hmm.
But when you like, I watched it the second time and I was like, what the hell? I'm watching a different show. This guy's a piece of shit. But it's like so
Wow, that's
obvious
funny.
afterwards.
Right.
So it's
That's
like, yeah, it's not even immediately obvious who the villain is,
funny.
in certain works of
Yeah,
fiction.
especially if it starts off with them as the main character, because you start growing attached to them and you want to see them
Succeed and
succeed
yeah,
and yeah, have good things happen to them.
yeah, and
So
then like,
then yeah, like it's like when in the real world when families are trying to stand up for their kid who just killed five people in a
mm,
school shooting. It's like I watched this fucking baby grow up.
mm-hmm,
Like this was a sweet innocent child at one point, and like up until this whack fucking episode, this was a kid that I just thought was a normal kid.
mm-hmm,
So when we look at that in the news and be like, how the fuck could you be saying those things, like standing up for them when they just did that? Like on one hand, yes, but also you have to fucking put yourself in their shoes and realize that
yeah,
like that's not the person they saw their whole life.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's another thing too, is we only ever see people as like as we portray them in our heads. So like you don't, if your son's like gonna be a school shooter, you don't see all his like fucked up thoughts in his head. You see like the
No.
image of your son that you want to see, even if he does like some
Yes.
questionable things, like kill a
That's right.
bunny rabbit or something, which
That's right.
that's an obvious sign of like whatever, some sort of killer. But like usually it's not even that apparent
Yeah.
before the actual thing happens. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's like we're all kind of operating in our own fictitious realm of like who you think other people are when they're actually completely different people. So like it's so
Yeah.
that's why like when you get like betrayed in like a relationship and things like that, it's so traumatic because like your whole
Mm-hmm.
reality gets shattered. But what was your
Yeah.
reality? It was a fiction you were telling yourself of who this person
Mm.
was, and it turns out
Right.
they're not that person.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, but in any form of betrayal, it's like obviously traumatic. But let's say your friend does something that's not like a complete betrayal, but it's like bad intentions and like
Mm-hmm.
morally wrong, but it's like, and it's also maybe not a trauma, but it's shocking. It's hard to say because it's always going to be different with every situation, but it's like, okay, you saw them a certain way and then their behavior is showing something else. It's like, how much am I going to allow this to get in between us? And
Mm-hmm.
like, am I going to shrug this off like this is a one off, but then you see like a pattern of it and it's like,
Mm.
like, because sometimes the fictions we tell ourselves aren't undeliberate, they're deliberate. It's
Yeah.
like I'm gonna choose to see their better side because I want to stay friends with them or something like that.
Yeah, because if you really internalize what they did
If you
and
really
like
internalize it, you're like, fuck that, I don't want to be their friend
yeah, and
or
that
their
often happens
girlfriend
where
or boyfriend or
yeah,
whatever. I
some
don't want to be involved in my parents' life anymore,
mhm.
whatever it is.
Yeah, that's why it's
But
such
I
a
think, sorry, such a what?
gray area with like oftentimes with like relationships with like your partner. It's like don't know when to split up, for instance, because like you don't know if like what they did was who they are or like if it was like a one-off bad choice of theirs or like there's it's so gray in reality. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah,
totally.
oftentimes we can over delude ourselves to be like, oh, it's fine. I'll give them another chance. And I think that's like the default for most people. But some other people
Mhm.
have the opposite default where it's like, yeah, fuck this person. They,
One thing and they're done.
yeah.
They don't try to repair.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, relationship dynamics I find are one of the most common things, like romantic relationship and also parent-child
Mm,
relationships.
yeah.
Like
Well, yeah,
big
it's
thing.
so like embedded in our psyche that like for instance, if your mom's like a piece of shit or something and like is just trying to like use you for like that connection that you long for a connection with your mom and she's just like trying to use you to like get money from you and like things like that. It's like deep down in your biology your mind craves a mother and
Yeah,
like trying to fill that hole with this person that isn't doing that is like ripe for manipulation.
I know.
um
That's where that's where okay, like how you were saying the structure, all these structures, whether it's the family unit or government or um, banks or whatever, these are all the fictions we've agreed to.
mhm.
The family unit is a good one, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if maybe it would be more beneficial to have like a tribe where just if your mom's a bitch and she's trying to take advantage of you, it doesn't matter because this other elder lady that like is in your village, you're really close with her, so you don't actually have to really pay
Yeah,
attention
well
to her.
certain like
But like,
historical structures were like that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm not saying the family unit's good or bad, but these are things that are interesting to think about because it's like we put so much um, weight on needing to get along with these certain people because our society is kind of divided. Like if if I don't like my parents or my brother or my whatever, friends, like it's harder for a lot of people to just go out and make new friends all of a sudden, or to just
Mhm.
cut ties with their parents and still have that elder presence in their life that is a certain gender. It's like not fucking easy the way our society's
Yeah.
structured.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what the right answer is. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I think like fundamentally, like in our biology, we need like a mother and a father figure, whether it's the person, the couple that birthed you or not. But like I think like your brain development, especially from like an early age, like from like 0 to like 15, like needs that figure in your life somehow. Otherwise, like
Yeah,
bad shit happens. Like
totally.
very with like 100% certainty, something bad is going to
Yeah, yeah,
happen.
for
Um,
sure.
yeah.
And let's say you have one and not the other, one parent and not the other. If you don't have like a different like masculine presence or a feminine presence in your life, that also leaves like a gap in your development that
Yeah.
is will need to be addressed at some point in your life.
Yeah, or it'll like
um
manifest in certain behaviors you do
yeah,
subconsciously and
that's what I'm
stuff.
saying.
Yeah.
Which ultimately usually end up being toxic behaviors.
Mhm.
I'm not a professional in any of this, but it's just you can see it in the people that you know, or
Mhm.
whatever, or like the things that they've expressed to you that they've struggled with because they had a lack of certain presence in their life. Um, Before we move on to more things, did you have anything else to say on that before I bring something up?
No, go ahead, because I just want to, yeah, I want to shift gears fully so you can finish up on the stuff.
Okay, this is kind of a big one too, because you said the best way to get into the uh, psyche of a villain is through fiction, and I partially agree. I think to the depths, yes, but I think the future of um, like the jail system, even, and the future of actually fucking making a difference in people's behavior who were criminals is fully trying to fucking understand their psyche, their psychological processes, and their history, and why that they ended
Hmm.
up making the choices they did. Because, like, I'll throw one out there that 99.999% of people that I've ever fucking met in my life despise this, and I, on one hand, I fucking do pedophiles, but so many people are so willing to just be like, they're a pedophile, they're a piece of shit, they deserve to burn in hell. And okay, maybe, sure, like, yes, it's awful what they did, but that behavior, they fucking did that for a reason. Like,
Mm.
and everyone is so dismissive, just like, oh, I would never do that. How could you do that to a child? And it's like, yeah, sure. How could you? I couldn't fucking do it. You couldn't do it. But, do you like being around kids? Yes, I do too. Do you like having sex with adults? Yes, I do. If some fucking screws were loose in someone's psyche, how could you not see those fucking things overlapping? How? Like,
Yeah,
all
like
it takes
or
it
at
takes a
least
fucked up past and a fucked up configuration in someone's brain to do that. Don't get me wrong. That's, I hate that ever has to fucking happen ever.
yeah.
But
Well, I just don't
like,
think ignoring it is like the right answer because
it's
like it'll
not.
just keep
It
coming up.
never
Yeah,
is.
you want to
Exactly. And
understand.
this will always be an issue forevermore. We need
Yeah,
to get to the fucking roots of shit.
yeah.
And that one especially is like I was listening to a guy who deals with criminals of all types, and he's like a psychologist, and he talks to them. And with the pedophile thing, a lot of the time they end up like that. He's saying in most cases it's because they were rejected at that age, and they're yearning for that age's acceptance, and
Yeah.
like their
That
desire to be fulfilled from someone of that age. It's a crazy thought process. It is
mhm.
totally fucked, but understanding needs to happen, because I truly think anyone who sees things for what they are, and they realize, like, unless they're like batshit crazy, which a lot of people will say pedophiles are. I wanted to use this subject because I know it's such a touchy one for so many people. I do think if people have enough conscious awareness around things and why they're feeling those things, they can realize like, oh, that's why I am how I am, and that can be changed, and that isn't healthy to steal a young child's innocence. And I can have
Well,
like, I realize why I was attracted to that, but I can still feel that energy towards older people, and it's just like,
yeah.
it can be a fucking healing thing. But we're as a society, we're so dismissive to certain things that like there's no room to allow people to change and be better.
Well, that's the thing is like think about from their perspective if they're having those thoughts and they don't identify with it and they're like why am I having these thoughts? Like to like deal with child porn or like have sex with a kid or something. Like why like they're like why am I having these thoughts? Let's say they actually want to like heal themselves. They can't go to anyone and say that. Like
No.
or they even if going to a therapist where there's like therapist whatever confidentiality like they that's good luck like getting a warm
Good luck.
reception there.
That's
even
right.
even if you like come off as like I don't know what the fuck these thoughts are, I don't identify with them, help me, they're gonna be like call the fucking cops on this guy.
Right.
They're not gonna...
Put a 24/7 watch on this fucking
yeah
guy.
so it's like
Yeah.
if that's not even an option then good luck. Like these people are just going to repress it or like act on it. That's the only other option for them.
Yeah.
And then if they repress it, something's bad's gonna happen. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like you are right. You have to be able to like discuss these things and have paths for healing for even the most fucked up people.
That's right. So it's like going into the psyche of the villain in real life.
Yeah.
And that's
But
the fucking road to healing.
I will say one thing. I think once they've acted on those things, absolutely they deserve like full on
Reprimanded.
the fullest punishment, like, to be locked away forever
100%.
because it's like their neural circuitry has already malfunctioned according to our standards.
Right. I'm not
they're
saying
done.
change the laws.
No, I know.
I'm not saying leave them in jail, but interview them.
Yeah,
Fucking
yeah.
interview them so you can be proactive for the other people, so this shit doesn't just keep continuing. And oh, another rape, lock him up. Never fucking know what happened. Oh, another rape, fucking kill him. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I want the world to have a brain and get to the root of shit, so this shit stops happening. Not so it's like it's always going to be an issue. It shouldn't ever be an issue.
Yeah. Well, another thing is like it probably like the thoughts to have sex with kids didn't just come out of their raw biology. Like it probably came from a mixture of many things, probably like a traumatic upbringing or some sort of like rejection or something. And like you can't just solve all of societal problems and like give everyone a magical fairy tale upbringing.
No.
But like you have to have some paths for like healing of those deeper traumas, hopefully at an earlier age before those seeds like turn into full on fantasies of rape or whatever the fuck it branches into. Like
right.
because you have to like intervene and like snip that when it's early, and who knows like when it will fully bloom. But like hopefully if you could like intervene on a kid's brain like before puberty in like a healthy, accepting, loving way, like reliably, then a good portion of those fucked up adults would not exist. Or I mean, they'd exist, but just not with those fucked up thoughts and actions.
Right. And it applies to other issues like anger issues or manipulation. Like there's many whack personality traits that we develop because of our past, and like these other ones that are lighter are more relatable by the majority of people, but they shouldn't be left unchecked. Like if you notice a pattern of you hurting others or hurting yourself and you're tired of it, like obviously there's shit going on in you that has been unaddressed. I digress, but
I
like
I think it's a good topic though.
It's a good topic because like these stories that are going on within us and within all other people, are governing everyone's lives, and we need to be aware of what stories are occurring within the worst of us so that we can change the story for
Hmm.
the all of us, you know.
Well, we should
Just
do.
more awareness needs to be had so we choose better identities for ourselves, and that manifests as goodwill.
Okay, so let's get into the last category of fiction as I've conceptualized it, which is, I guess, reality as fiction. So we kind of said for the middle of the spectrum that these are like everyday fictions that most people would, upon reflection, be like, yeah, okay, those are fictions, but they're like really useful and powerful, like economy and religion and government and stuff. Um, but this one, this like extreme, is I kind of define it as things that would be really hard to accept are fictions by most people. Maybe some of them, like depending on your framework, I think people would be like, okay, yeah, that is also a fiction, but it's like literally who I am, so I don't want to lose that as a fiction. Like for instance, your sense of self. Like Buddhists will get to like that is a pure fiction. There is no you. But I like to have me, so I'm not going to drop that fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a few other things that I've identified that. Well, maybe I'll just like list some of them. But do you have any thoughts right now, or
No,
you just?
let's hear the list.
Well, okay, it's not a very extensive list, but
No.
basically, like your perceptions of the world and calling you have a screen of perception right now. You're seeing a room and you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing objects. I see a lamp and I see a painting and a plant with flowers and blah blah blah. So the fiction that we fall into is pretending that that is what the world is. Like that what I'm seeing is the world. It's like I'm looking through a window at what is actually there. But the reality of it, or at least a truer reality, is that your brain is reconstructing what it's seeing out there and presenting. So it's presenting this lamp as an object, as a lamp that I see as different from the table below it. And the painting over there is not the lamp or the table. But these are all things that I'm viewing not out there, but I'm viewing them within my skull. So like that lamp that I see, like the perception of the lamp is in my head. But I do believe that there is something out there that is causing my brain to create this image of a lamp.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where just if you take neuroscience literally and think about like what your brain is, like these are kind of like truths that you come to like realizing this fiction. But I think just like on an everyday um, surface level, it's very easy to see the objects and like to see my hands in front of me as the hands that exist in the world and not the hands that are being constructed by my brain right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very like jarring thing to really like reflect on and realize as a fiction. But I think if you take enough time to do that, you will realize that's the case. And then once you realize that's the case, you'll immediately forget the next day or the next minute because it's like just so ingrained in us that what we see is like reality.
Yeah. 100%, man. It's a crazy subject. I know we talked about it pretty extensively in our second episode of this podcast, which is, in my opinion, worth a listen. But everything is just a structure of data in our outer world, and we perceive it the way that we do in our inner world because we evolved to perceive it that way,
Yeah.
because our biology took the shortcut to the most efficient way to perceive things for our survival, and that's it. And there's a lot of information that's discarded because it's not necessary for our survival. At least our evolution didn't see it that way, as necessary for our survival. Um, so I think everything you just said is the trippiest thing that I've ever come across, to realize that it's not,
Yeah.
the world is not just the way that it looks.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can get even more extreme with this, but I still want to just linger on like the things that are like kind of more um like more able for someone to accept as a fiction. Like for when I'm like meditating on this, I like to do it like with respect to my own perception of my body. Like it's easy to be
Nice.
like, oh, the lamp is like my own fiction of the lamp. But like when I'm walking around in the world and I see my legs walking on the floor of a world and my hands grabbing objects and stuff, um, it's really trippy to think that all of that imagery is like in here. So I'm just seeing like, let's pretend that there's literally like hands moving around in my brain and like the feet moving around. Like the feet that I'm seeing walking on the world are occurring within my skull. So like all I'm really seeing is like my model of what's going on in the world. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting feedback from the world that, okay, I haven't fallen down yet. I'm moving closer to this water bottle that I'm reaching for. So you're getting feedback that like locks in the model as like doing something close to what is real.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're only ever stuck with that model.
Yeah.
And it's just like really, really hard to convince yourself that these hands and the feet that I'm seeing are like in the model and not the ones in the world.
Mm.
But it's fun to think about.
Yeah, it's crazy. And when you think of what these, everything that we see on our scale of reality or fiction, everything that we see at this scale is comprised of so many subatomic particles and then
Yeah.
atoms and molecules that, like, and even just a molecule. One molecule is made of an insane amount of subatomic particles.
Even a cell you can't see by your human eye. You
No.
know? So
But
it's like,
imagine
yeah.
if we could for a sec, like how crazy different that would be if we're just seeing all these cells vibrating together to form our
Mm.
surroundings. Like that would be the trippiest thing ever. So it's
Well,
not, it's
it
not
would be
so
physically impossible to actually see that. You necessarily need to aggregate things into like
right.
bunches of cells, because if your brain's modeling every single cell, then like there's like a saying that it would dissolve into an entropic soup because the entropy of your brain would shoot up to infinity and
Right.
something that high of entropy is inherently disordered and chaotic and hot, and that's not what a brain is.
For sure. Um, reality as we know it wouldn't allow that. But let's say there's an alien species that has integrated with technology and they allow that mental computing power to view that,
Hmm.
hypothetically. That is like beyond any comprehension of what this reality is, like what they would be perceiving. Like it's this hand
Yeah.
that is full of all this shit that we can't perceive. But it's the same data structure.
Hmm. Yeah. But think about it this way. If an alien is able to accurately model every single quantum state of who you are within
Mhm.
their architecture, that I would argue that that is, well, yeah, I would I would say that that is just them recreating you. Like that is what you are, is like this exact data structure. So like or let me put it a different way. If you're able to accurately model the universe by like having every single state like constructed within like your black box, then I would just say that that's what the universe is. Like that's the thing in itself at that point. If you've gotten it fully accurately
Right.
reconstructed, you know. So that like does that make sense? Like it's like we're coarse graining all of
Mhm.
our reality, and therefore
Mm.
it's a fiction. But if
Oh,
you were able to fully reconstruct the universe in your brain, then you would literally have like another universe. Like it's just the same thing at that point.
I think personally, ultimately, there is a, this is my belief, a aspect of God that is that consciousness that sees all and feels all and can sense all. Are you saying, like, are you
Yeah, so
saying that it's,
I think whatever
that's the true reality?
whatever the
Is that what you're
universe
getting at?
is,
And the rest is fiction within it, or perspectives within the reality?
yeah, it's perspective. It's planes of existence through the
Hmm.
full thing. Um, so like whatever the universe is, the full totality of it, um, that it just is what it is, and it exists within, like you could say, within the God. Like God is that, and that is
Hmm.
God, for instance. Um, and if you wanted to fully like describe that reality for what it is, then you would just be creating a new, like you would just be creating the universe itself. It wouldn't no longer be like a simulation of it.
Yeah, like I've heard this from like spiritual channelers and stuff, and like also the religions. They say everything is here and now. What does that mean? And what I've experienced on psychedelics, on mushrooms, is like the entire reality that we perceive in time and space is a deconstructed version of the totality of God, because everything was one dot before, like the Big Bang, the speck of dust that exploded into the Big Bang.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it created all this time and space to allow itself to experience all aspects of itself. That's what I believe. You can believe whatever you want, but every single one of our perspectives in this totality is like a fictional story, but really it is the only reality that we know of. And it could, like, all these things that we're calling fiction, including our existence or our perspectives of only seeing this scale of reality and stuff, it could all just be that we're all just perceiving slivers of reality based on the parameters that we're given. And
Yeah, I think
and
that is what
so
it
it's
is.
not
Yeah,
fake. It's not a fiction, or this existence, but it's only a small portion. And um,
yeah,
yes, there's fictional systems and games that we play societally to function as a society, but that doesn't make them, that doesn't make these fictions meaningless, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's all
yeah.
for
I
the
agree. Because
reality of whatever consciousness is to have an experience.
yeah, yeah. It's almost like too, um, it's too like strict of language to be calling that a fiction, because we
Right.
think of fiction as fake. But it, like my experience right now is the only reality that could
Yeah.
be existing right now. Like that's the only level of experience that can exist given my
Yeah, so there's
exact
nothing
makeup.
more real than that.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why like when we say like a schizophrenic person is experiencing reality, it's like their subjective their experience of their own reality is real, and that's the only way it could be.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fiction to them because that's
right.
what they're experiencing.
It's real as fuck for them.
And the same goes for everyone. It's like the perceptions and the narratives and all that I experience, given my current state of my physiology and physical particles and stuff, like that's the only possible experience that I could be having right now. But then you can get into where can I like intervene on that and change my mind with this, and you can start to change those narratives of how you view yourself and the world out there, and you can learn like different philosophies and different ways of being to like shift that. But in the current here and now, it's like you're the way you are, and there's nothing at this moment that you can do to change any of it
other than DMT.
Well, yeah, that's in the next moment though.
I think it's a few things you said are very valuable, like the philosophies that a person might go through, like it's essentially different lenses, different frames to see the world through, and that governs our entire existence. Like, change your story, change your life. If you're seeing life through a new lens, all of a sudden so many new things are available to you that you didn't see before, and so many things from the old lens that you were seeing through are meaningless because you've entered a new paradigm. But I want to touch on, like, I guess people thinking this reality is a simulation, which I'm not saying it isn't, but like for the longest time I've been saying it's a simulation for the soul. Like, it's like a fake thing that a soul comes in and it inhabits this body and animates it and has an experience, and then it dies and it continues on. That's my belief. But more accurate than saying simulation, like, it's a sliver of reality. This is still a completely real thing occurring. It's not fake. Simulation implies fake to most people. It's not a fake thing. It's just a very small, tiny sliver.
Or like meaningless, or
a tiny sliver that was meaningful enough for consciousness to come and inhabit. And for that reason, I think all of our lives are special in that way. If we're looking for significance or specialness in a massive universe, that it can seem very daunting and like we don't mean shit in the grand scheme of things. We mean enough that consciousness wanted to come and have an experience through us. So that's pretty cool to me. That's enough for me to put that significance and that yearning for feeling special aside. Like, that's special enough to me. Is it to you to think that?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a sliver of reality, and like whether it's the true reality or whether this lamp is real or in the Matrix, it feels like it's a significant objective thing in my world that I can interact with, and like I can turn it on and I can see at night. Like, that's like the usefulness of it from that is like enough for me to attribute like some sort of reality to it. And yeah, I think no matter what, we're always gonna be constrained to our mental models and this sliver of reality. Like, maybe given certain technologies of physics or like getting deeper into the mind or spirituality, you can expand what sliver of reality you're able to take into your mind.
Yes. Or
And
psychedelics.
like taking DMT, you're seeing like a crazy sliver of reality that you can't see otherwise. But at the end of the day, like, it's all interpretations from our point of view, and probably only until you die you can't ever like get a glimpse beyond that. You know, So I think, yeah, having that interpretation of it, that it's a sliver of reality, but it's the only one we have access to, and it's freaking awesome. It's like enough meaning for me.
Nice.
And then kind of similarly, it's like the argument of free will. It's kind of like your interpretation of the simulation. It's like, okay, simulation or not, something is happening that I call experience and me, and there's meaning in that. Same with free will. It's like there may or may not be free will according to like I could have done a different action given this. Like I like to think I have free will. We all like to think we have free will in our lives. To me, my kind of take is that it doesn't matter if we really do or not. It feels like I do,
that's right.
And that's enough. It's
enough.
like an adaptive kind of explanation for these things.
Yeah, and I like that adaptive explanation through all of it. It's like whether it is or it isn't free will or a simulation or whatever, this is still a fucking valuable experience. There's utility in this experience. There's use in it. It's teaching us all something. And like, what's the meaning of life? What should it? What are we all here for? Does there have to be a meaning, or can we just chill and can we just experience?
Yeah, that's true.
Like I've had some smart ass people like been so hung up on that question that I've like talked about, and they're like, I have this feeling though that like we're all here for a reason, like God or if there's a higher power put us here for some reason, and it's stressing me out. And then I'm just like, does there have to be one? I don't know. I don't think there does.
Yeah,
I think it's just about the experience.
Yeah, like I think that I've struggled with this before, and I kind of think of it as like there's a capital M meaning and like lowercase m meaning to life.
Nice.
And capital M meaning is something you'll never find, and it's unknowable.
Right.
Like it's something that we can philosophize about, being like, what is the purpose of humanity? What is my purpose? I don't know if you've seen Rick and Morty, but he turns on a robot that he made, and he's like, the robot's like, what is my purpose? And he's like, you spread butter. And the robot gets like all depressed. But it's like, because I don't know. Anyways,
that's good.
But yeah, we're like so concerned with capital M meaning.
Yeah.
But what really makes you feel good in life is the lowercase m meaning.
Yes.
And that is found by
place
action. Just action. Just pick anything ever. You could pick trains as your special interest. You could pick Pokemon cards. You could pick saving the freaking homeless people. Anything. If you devote attention and action and thought and care towards that, like you'll feel this lowercase m meaning, and you'll literally like pull it up out of the ether of nothingness. Yeah. And you'll feel satisfied.
Totally.
But if you're struggling with like that big M meaning, you're not going to find it. 100 billion people have lived, and like pretend there's the fictions around it. It's like, oh, God made this is.
It's all fictions. Any attempt to define the uppercase M is a fiction.
But here's where fiction's very powerful: is that if you put all your attention and action and care towards these fictions, like religion and stuff, that gives you the lowercase m meaning.
Yeah.
And that's what really matters. And that's where people get confused, is they feel the power of the lowercase m meaning through the fiction.
Humanity is programmed for the lowercase m meaning. That's like the best part of life.
Yeah. But we get confused of where, and we get deluded to think that we found the ultimate meaning, and you must follow my path to capital M meaning through this religion.
Right.
Because I feel so good and I know this is true. It's like, no, you've just found lowercase m meaning. You just did something in some direction with intention. Like I could do that towards freaking Pokemon cards and have the best life ever.
Yeah, totally. Any silly ass thing could be your religion if you put enough lowercase m meaning behind it, and like you created it as like your purpose, but it doesn't mean like that's the uppercase M, like what we're all here to do.
Yeah, and you need to freaking gas the Jews now. It's like, right. No, just chill out.
Fucking relax, yeah.
There's other ways to exist.
Exactly. Man. That's such a good moral of this whole episode and story, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much the points where I wanted
I
to
like
get
that
to.
so
Oh,
much.
okay. One more thing that I'll talk about with this, like reality as fiction, that we didn't explicitly say, but like space and time may and likely are just fictions
Yes, they are.
that are adaptive for our evolution.
Didn't they
And
scientifically prove that?
no, I mean
That there's
it's
more
still
beyond
you.
time and space? No.
No, I
Oh,
mean okay. If people are interested, look into Donald
yeah,
Hoffman
yeah.
talking about like space time is doomed and all that stuff. Like it's very compelling and it's probably correct when you like look at like quantum mechanics and like the
Mathematical
deeper
models,
theories.
and isn't that what he's all about?
Yeah, like I mean like quantum mechanics and different like spins on it, like loop quantum gravity and string theory and all this are like pointing towards a different um level of reality as being like the real level of reality, or at least like a more real level of reality than time and space. Um, but it's still like you say, like we're in a sliver of reality where time and space seem to be the most relevant like things that help us to describe what we're seeing. Like it's probably like a compression type algorithm, like to create a time and space in order to understand um, the objects in it and
That's right.
ourselves in it. Like this is what our probably what our brain is doing is some sort of compression of like dimensions and into to three dimensions of space and one of time.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's probably not fundamental at the end of the day, but it's kind of like the free will and the simulation thing where it's like for most intents and purposes it is the level of reality that matters for a human
Yeah.
that's living on a planet in the middle of space.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to get at when I was talking about the consciousness with the capital C, is just like the everything that was here and now, it was too much for it to dissect it and fully know the different aspects of it. So it created time and space to like really be able to be with it and be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now I can see myself. Now I can experience.
Yeah, and ultimately I think like I've been learning more fundamental physics lately and it's like super fun, and
Sick.
it's still it's very cool and it's at the level of symbols and equations and stuff that are standing in for like quantum fields and all this. But at the end of the day it's still completely ignorant of like what consciousness is, and I think I hope I'm alive for when we like can better describe consciousness with like some sort of scientific reasoning, but currently it's like on its own and
Yeah.
it's fun to think about and I enjoy it, but yeah, so far physics has like nothing to say about it.
And that's okay. Like, there's, I think maybe it's meant to remain a mystery, but if it's not, um, it just makes it exciting that there's so much more to discover. And I think it's cool that you can be so fascinated with such different parts of life. Like
Yeah.
if there's zero overlap with it, let's say nothing comes of any progression towards merging physics with consciousness for the rest of our lives, it's still sick to be able to be so deeply into those physics subjects that you're now researching because
Hmm.
you have more time now, because you're not pursuing a PhD anymore, which congratulations. I need to congratulate you on this show that
Thank you.
that PH capital D, big D,
Big D.
has been obtained.
Pretty huge dick obtained.
There's a little D before, but now it's big D.
Yeah.
And yeah, then you can also still experience more consciousness than
Yeah.
research, because research only goes so far on it. It's about just being with the experience, and like that
Hmm.
the whole body awareness and observation you're talking about before is like so valuable, not just from like a I guess like philosophical observation, but as like a feeling.
Mhm.
Because we can get so in our heads and away from our bodies, but like our beingness is the whole thing, mind and body. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but so the main thing I want to mention again before we wrap up is just like the lowercase m meaning is really like the the milk and honey of life. Um,
Mm.
that is like the greatest thing that we could ever consume ourselves with, because like we were saying with the wars and stuff, when you try and pursue the capital M and be like, this is the meaning of the universe, and like when
Mm.
people get
Mhm.
obsessive over that, they start killing each other. It seems like,
Yeah, pretty much.
or killing
Yeah.
themselves because they can't figure it out. it
Yeah,
it
exactly.
leads
You're
to
right. Yeah.
fucking
It
darkness.
leads to discord, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like it's
Mhm.
meant to remain a mystery. Like the capital M
Right.
meaning is supposed to also be capital M mystery. And
Yeah, and like, okay, even let's say the DMT realm is the key to capital M meaning. Like people that go there are like, this was realer than real.
okay,
This
but
is where,
none of them
but like,
go on.
even if that is where the deep M, like capital M meaning was going to be existing, you're not pulling back the reality from that. Like no one, when you
No,
come back, you've
no,
lost it. You've lost the
that's right. It's
thread.
not here
And
anymore.
to push that on people and to be like,
We
oh,
should just
I've
all
seen
be
the
on
other.
drugs at
Yeah,
all
I've seen the
times.
other side. I've seen the other side. I know the secrets of the universe. It's like you've maybe glimpsed a sliver of
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
like beyond us, but you still don't have it. Yeah, you're still way further off than you're deluding yourself to think. So,
that's right. And like
yeah.
I've heard them come back with like some wise things that maybe some other beings said, and like sure we're all just consciousness experiencing itself in different forms and things along that nature, along those lines, but it's like it hasn't been anything really life changing. Like it's not like this, oh my
Mhm.
god, they've been to the promised land and they've come back now. It's still like they were receiving some different information than the rest of us for a while. That's really all that it was.
Yeah.
So to think that that is going to be um, the solution to all our problems is complete ignorance, and
Hmm.
which that's honestly a distraction. Other than if you want to see beyond the veil, great. It's a sick option. I'm so glad that it's there, but
It's cool.
it's
Yeah.
cool.
It's
It's
fucking
so fascinating. But it's not going to
yeah.
fix everything, and this is where we're meant to be. Like if someone wants to
Yeah.
dedicate their lowercase m meaning to pursuing that, sick. But you're not going to get to the uppercase m doing anything.
Hmm.
We should all be
Yeah. So I
pursuing
think
the more personal meanings within our lives, and we can have several meanings like in different areas of life, but like seeing those through
mhm.
to our fullest, and that's going to lead to the greatest fucking satisfaction, and not worry about the
Yeah.
uppercase so much.
Yeah. So one last thing is that like I think a key aspect to getting to that lowercase m meaning, like the actionable, action driven meaning for people, is to like identify the shitty stories you're telling yourself and to rewrite those.
Yeah,
So I think that's like a really fun episode idea to like really explore how you can do that.
yeah,
Because like, okay, going to therapy is one thing. I could just say like, go to a therapist and talk about like these things. Like they'll help you identify your shitty stories and help you to rewrite that. But like at the end of the day, talk therapy, it might um it might get deep enough into your psyche to like help you actually fix things, but it might also not. So there are a bunch of other tools that can work. Like it depends on your history of like issues and traumas and how deeply ingrained certain problems are, or like your current story is.
yeah.
It's like rewriting it often can't just be talked through. You need to like have a psychedelic therapy session or like have some near death experience to like shake you out of your current like point of view and things like that. Um,
Yeah,
anyways, we'll get into like more actionable things in a future episode. I think that'll be fun.
for sure. And I'll just say now, the way to tell a different story is to have a compelling meaning, a compelling why. And if you don't have a
Mm.
reason why you want to change, you won't change. Why would anyone change from what's easy? So
Yeah,
like to
exactly.
have a incredibly compelling why, which is like usually comes in the form of family or a partner or a life's work or something that you care about. Like pay attention, try new things. If you feel like you don't care about anything, try some different shit. Like
Yeah.
see what you feel that why towards that compelling drive, and then use that as the fuel to tell a new story.
Hmm. All right, that's a great. I think that's a great ending point. So, thanks everyone for listening. Stay tuned. We'll be putting out much more regular episodes, including what's the. Do you have a title for the one that you're getting into next?
Uh,
So relating to.
there will be one on the brain sometime soon, and
Mhm.
obviously we have a scientist on our side, so Jordan's gonna chime in on that episode too with different things.
But
But
it's like actionable things, right?
actionable
Like, do you want
things.
to.
It'll also be like memory strategies that I've learned from different books. Um, yeah, it'll be an all-encompassing.
optim
Yeah,
optimizing your focus and things like
yeah,
that. So
optimizing
yeah,
your brain.
so look forward to that, and we'll get into the actionable fictions. But with
Yeah.
that, thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us, guys. And Jordan, I want to say I'm fucking excited to do more episodes with you finally.
Fuck yeah.